Hello, beautiful beings. Thank you so much for dropping by. To anyone who's new to this channel is about helping people understand the difference between authentic Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, and modernized nonsense, neo-non-duality, and more specifically, how to recover from this modernized distortion of this ancient philosophy. You can find more on my website, neo-advaita.org, neo-advaita.org, which is listed below this video and in the chat box. So I'm struggling to put into words what I'm going to share, and it's very humbling, and honestly, it's a little bit embarrassing. But recently, I had the thought, my cat is real. And I'm like, what? And it wasn't like a thought. It was more like a feeling, like, wow, my cat is real. And I was pretty shocked by it because I love my cat. I've had her. She's approaching. We have almost 20 years together. She's actually been in a couple videos on this channel. Where is she? There's the pretty girl. I love this being. And I just it was like this feeling like my cat is real. And it was like, the feeling was like that this was somehow a new understanding. And I was like, what? Like, what is that? And so I've really sat with it, and I'm still unpacking it. But, Neo-Advaita or Neo-Non-Duality says that all of this is non-existent and an illusion. Traditional Advaita teaches a very different story, that all of this is actually the supreme and the divine. And yes, one needs to learn how to differentiate between the aspect of the supreme, which is eternal, and the aspect of the supreme, which is constantly changing and in fluctuation, but that ultimately it's all divine. And the illusion is to I don't even want to get into it. I don't like to, I'm not here to really teach non-duality, but traditional non-duality teaches a very different vision of reality. It's a very integrated vision, whereas Neo-Advaita is just like cuts reality in half, and it's like there's what's sacred and then there's what's non-existent, and really cuts us off from what you could say the relative. But I struggled with that for years. I don't exist in neo non-duality. I don't exist. The world doesn't exist. I'm an illusion. My feelings, like I let go of that about 5 years ago, and I've begun working my way out of the Neo-Advaita web. And I finally have rejected the idea that the world is unreal and that I'm unreal and my personality's I've rejected all that, but I've rejected it intellectually. And you could say spiritually. Spiritually. And I've started to embrace with my heart, myself, life, my feelings, my passions, my interests. But I guess there's another layer out of the Neo-Advaita illusion. Neo-Advaita loves to say everything's an illusion, when actually Neo-Advaita is the illusion, or spins illusions. But there's this kind of deeper level that I guess I'm getting at now of, and here's where I don't quite have the words, of like, you could say view. The Buddha talked about view, or I believe the Pali word is sanana or sanyana, like a fundamental paradigm that you could say another, like will, like that just kind of moves you, like in the Buddhist view, your fundamental paradigm like moves you through life. And I guess on that level, I still am unwinding this sense that all of this is actually real, that I'm real, that my cat is real. because like I said, sort of spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, or on a heart level, but on a more like I experience and relate to the world as real, but there's still kind of this, you could say, like an embodied level, or like, as they say, like in your bones, kind of an instinctual level. Like there's still kind of this detachment from the world and from life. Like I treat things with I treat things, it's funny I say things. I treat other people, myself, my cat, with kindness to the best of my ability. I fall short daily, more like hourly. But I went very deep down the Neo-Advaita rabbit hole. And so my unwinding, I guess, is taking a moment. So on an emotional level, like the world is real to me, but there's still this way. And again, I'm sorry that I'm bumbling around for words. I think I'll leave comments open on this one. Maybe some of you have better words than me. There's kind of this primal level in which I still don't think of or relate to the world as real. Like I relate, it's like this. Actually, this is how it is. It's like in a given moment, I relate to you, me, my cat, as if they're real, like with value. Like right now, I've got one live viewer, and I know other people will watch this, and I'm engaged and I'm relating to all of you as if, not as if, as real, right? And bringing myself and showing up. And I almost want to say it's still kind of transactional. Like it's not like how I feel right now, this engagement with life isn't necessarily how I feel throughout the day. It's how I feel when I'm doing activities. Like I just talked to a friend and I felt very engaged, and I went to a spiritual meeting this morning, and actually I was a chairperson for it and I felt very engaged. So that feeling of engagement happens, but it's not throughout the day. It's like as needed. so so what I take from that, and what I take from this thought that came, like, oh, my cat is real, is like there's another layer, and a part of me is like, oh, but I'm also grateful because I am coming back to life, and I want to come back to life more fully. There's another layer that I just haven't been seeing. And that's kind of how illusion or delusion works, is it veils things. And so I'm starting to see, like, oh, yes, when I go to a dance class or I teach a dance class, like I'm engaged. But in between the dance class, it's almost like I'm still disengaged, you know. I think maybe that's the best way to say it, is there's an extreme disengagement. And I've made huge progress because, like I said, I'm doing things now. For a while, I wasn't really doing things. So it's just another level of my own journey of unwinding this. And it's really interesting. Part of what's helping this happen, I think, is my mom is really struggling with health stuff. For those of you who are into prayer, I just please prayers for my mama bear. And so there's nothing. Life gets really real seeing my mom in a very weakened state, and she's making so much progress, and I'm so proud of her. She's doing so well, but she's really struggling, and she's really struggling with some very basic physical things. And so to see that, she's lost a lot of weight. She was extremely fragile, and now she's very fragile. And to see that gets life really real very quick. And to show up and like take care of, the woman who gave birth to me and took care of me, like that gets life. It's pretty real, And the beautiful thing is, and I've been amazed at how not just, I don't want to first of all, I'm very proud of how I've shown up for her. The skillfulness, but also the fact that I'm available. Because if this had happened a couple of years ago, I don't know how available I would have been. So just the fact that I'm available, but here's the other thing, that I'm interested. I want to show up for my mom. And that's the thing is, Neo-Advaita, neo-non-duality just destroys desire or twists it up. And so desire is actually necessary. And in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the key texts for Advaita Vedanta, in it, Krishna says, following desires that are in harmony, following desires in alignment with Dharma is sacred. Like desire is completely poo-pooed in Neo-Advaita, but in traditional non-duality, desire is seen as sacred. And it's this journey of aligning desire with that which is harmony. Neo-Advaita is like, let's kill desire. And Neo-Advaita practices kill desire, literally. They don't kill it. You can't kill desire, but it suppresses us. It suppresses those of us who went down that path. And so in this moment, I'm like, oh my God, Neo-Advaita, neo-non-duality is just nutso. Like it doesn't know anything about anything. It doesn't even, the desire is like the most basic aspect of our being, not just human, but even spiritual. Spiritually, desire is like one of our primordial aspects of our being. And Neo-Advaita is like, eliminate desire. Like, of course, it also says like, eliminate your personality, eliminate yourself, actually, it's truly nutso. But so I'm just grateful, that I have the capacity to like show up for my mom. And yeah, I mean, I'm also humbled. Like I want to show up more, and I'm showing up. I'm very satisfied, and as I said, proud at how well I'm showing up. But I still have limits. I mean, we all have limits, but I still have limits in my healing recovery journey, and I want to show up more. So to circle back around, and thank you, Soul Spirit, I'll get to your comment in a minute. I went deep down the Neo-Advaita rabbit hole, like hardcore, to the brink of ending my life and almost having a psychotic break. And not everybody does, but for those of you who did, just compassion to you. First of all, I feel you. I know what it's like. Second of all, I just want to say there is hope. There's absolutely hope. I've just felt so hopeless with this, and there's absolutely hope. And third of all, like I'm working on building my strength up because I want to do more to support those people. And I'm not the only one out here doing this work. I put on my website, I've got resources for other people who do similar things to what I do, and even who do more than what I do, who are more available than I am. Because I'm still not super available for like, I want to lead groups and I want to do one-on-one coaching, and I've done some of that, but yeah. So soul, spirit, self. Oh my God. Your words move me to tears. Soul, spirit, self says it's a stain. I mean, neo-non-duality or Neo-Advaita is a stain on the word Advaita. Spirit, soul, self. Your words move me to tears. That's why you see when I talk about, like, I won't even call what these people are doing non-duality, and I won't call it Advaita. I call it Neo-Advaita, neo-non-duality, modern non-duality. I don't even like call it modern non-duality because it's not. Like, it's fake non-duality. It's demonic in my view, and I'm not the only one. It's evil, it's delusional, and it's harmful. And yes, it is a stain on the word Advaita. It's such a shame that has become associated with Advaita Vedanta. It's interesting. I'll read the rest of your comment, then I have something to share about it. Thank you so much for your content. So glad I caught you live. So glad you caught me live. Like, your words move me to tears because it's such a stain. I mean, that's just beautifully said. Soul, spirit, self. Neo-Advaita almost broke me mentally and physically. Advaita brought me back. Advaita saved my life. Now, and I'd like to say I studied enough Advaita to get me out of Neo-Advaita, and now Advaita really isn't my path, as I've shared. I follow qualified, called Vashishta Advaita, related yet very different. And so I just want to share that to the channel. And soul, spirit, self, I am so happy for you. Studying traditional Advaita Vedanta with traditional Advaita Vedanta teachers saved my life. And that doesn't mean that Advaita Vedanta has to become your path. A true Advaita Vedanta teacher will not push non-duality on you. They will meet you where you are and help you take the next step forward. One of the first traditional Advaita Vedanta teachers I studied with taught me to do karma yoga and bhakti yoga. We didn't even talk about the self or oneness. He taught me how to do karma yoga. The next traditional Advaita Vedanta teacher, we didn't talk about anything non-dual at all. I went up and said hello to him, and he said hello, and I introduced myself, and he said, his first question to me was, let me get it right because it's really important. Oh, his first question to me was, does your family live around here? I met him in a temple here in Florida, and his first fucking question to me, does your family live near you? I said, no. But actually, I'm like, they're up in Georgia nearby. He said, oh, good. I think it's important that you go see them. That was his first teaching to me. And the dude was right. That's a real Advaita Vedanta teacher. It's all about Dharma. Dharma, we think of Dharma as a Buddhist term, and it is, but it actually started in Sanatana Dharma or Vedic philosophy. And in Vedic philosophy, Dharma is very cosmic. It's like that which keeps everything going, but it's also very concrete of that which is harmonious. It's harmonious to have good relationships. It's to have good relationships with yourself, your roommate or your spouse, your family, your extended family, your neighbors. Like it's considered an essential part of the path, a foundation of the path. So the third traditional Advaita Vedanta teacher I worked with or studied with, she said relationship with Ishvara, meaning the supreme ruler or creator, and Dharma are non-negotiables in non-duality, in Advaita Vedanta. Non-negotiables, absolute foundation. Meaning if you don't have a devotional relationship with, I don't want to say God, because that word just doesn't work for me anymore, with the Supreme, if you don't have a devotional relationship with Supreme and you're not striving to live harmoniously and to bring harmony and Dharma, and like Dharma also means skillfulness and action. And the essence of Dharma is skillfulness and action, like doing your best and leaving the results. I mean, these are some of the key things. And this is also the essence of karma yoga, like striving to do your best, striving to act for the benefit of the whole, not just meeting your own selfish needs, but meeting your needs in a way that actually blesses the whole, doing your best, leaving the results up to highest power, and doing your duty, tending to your responsibilities. Like in traditional Advaita Vedanta, these are non-negotiable foundations. Neo-Advaita says those are distractions. Get rid of them. Forget about them. Just inquire. Or worse, None of those things exist. It is, to quote Soul Spirit Self, it's a stain. And I would say a shit stain, a vomit stain on actual non-duality. So, Soul Spirit Self, I am a little cloistered right now, but I do ask if people want to share their recovery story. I love to hear it, and I love to share it on this channel. I leave out personal information, so if you would, please do send that to me if you're willing. My email address is on my webpage under more and under contact. And I'm so happy that traditional Advaita saved your soul. Yeah. Wow, got a lot of people here on live right now. I'm about ready to wrap up, but if anyone has any questions or comments, please go ahead and post them. And Soul Spirit Self, you are so welcome. You said thank you for this work. And I do it because I must. And I also do it because it helps me, but I also do it because it's a maze. I want to see if I can help people out of the maze a little more quickly. I will do that. Thanks. I do think there are modern teachers of Advaita that work. I hope you don't find my favorite teacher to be too non-traditional. I mean, yeah, no, I don't mention specific teachers by name. I mean, so I'm not worried about, traditional, it's possible to be too traditional, right? To be like all stuffy and rigid and dogmatic. So anyone, this is what I mean. It's a great question. What do I mean by traditional? What I mean is anyone who teaches non-dual philosophy. So, okay, a couple things. Anyone who teaches non-dual philosophy without teaching the prerequisites and the foundation, and then anyone who teaches what I call the Neo-Advaita delusions, like the world doesn't exist, you don't exist. Self-inquiry will fix all your problems. Wow, it's been a while since I've thought about these. I mean, I guess those are the main ones. Everything is predetermined, so there's nothing to do, or you already are enlightened. So that my definition of non-traditional or fake or neo, I don't even want to say, of neo non-duality is someone who teaches self-inquiry and doesn't teach the prerequisites, and someone who teaches any of all those delusions. Oh my God, Spirit Soul said he teared up when he first found me. Oh, brother or sister. Wow. Wow. Thank you. I could not think of a better present than someone feeling tears at finding my work. Thank you. And then Soul Spirit Self said, who is it that doesn't exist? It sends you mad. I could not have said it better. It drives you mad. And the thing is, and here's the other thing, and here's the other Neo-Advaita, this is maybe one of the main Neo-Advaita distortions, is a false definition of ego. Like Neo-Advaita defines ego as thoughts, feelings, and individuality. And so the goal is then to eliminate your thoughts, feelings, and individuality in fake non-duality. That's one of its most harmful distortions. Whereas traditional Advaita defines ego, they don't use the word ego, it's I think ahamkara or ahankara, is the false sense of identification, like these things are me. I am the body, the thoughts, the feelings, the individuality. So Neo-Advaita sends you on a mad quest to eliminate what cannot be eliminated. You cannot eliminate thoughts, feelings, and individuality. And traditional Advaita Vedanta says, first of all, those things are part of God. Like you're trying to eliminate a part of God. And again, I don't like the word God. Those things are part of the Supreme. Those are of the energy of the Supreme. But second of all, like you can't eliminate them. And so it drove me fucking bonkers. And I'm not the only one. Dharma in the north, ahankara, yes. Yep. Wow, thanks for that. My Sanskrit is not so. And so what I learned, and so from the third, was it the third or the fourth? Actually, the fourth traditional Advaita Vedanta teacher that I studied with, what I learned from her, and her name's Swami Brahma Prajananda, and I've got her linked on my website under, let's see, under resources, I believe. Let me see. I'm just checking real quick. Yes, under resources. So what I learned from Swamini Ji, that's short for Swamini Brahma Prajna Ananda Saraswati, is that traditional Advaita Vedanta, and here's where tradition matters. Precise definitions matter. So these different Sanskrit words have very precise definitions, and it's very important. And I'll give you an example of two. One of them I just did, ahankara, and the second is real. Okay, so so in traditional non-duality, the goal is to, let's just say, eliminate ego. It's not really, but let's just say for a moment, okay, well, if you have an incorrect definition of ego, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. And I had an incorrect definition, which I learned from these Neo-Advaita teachers. So to say it again, in traditional Advaita Vedanta, and again, I am not a non-dual teacher. Like, all I do is I share just enough to help people out. And then I'm like, if you want to study Advaita Vedanta, here's a list of traditional or helpful teachers. So, but in traditional Advaita Vedanta, so let's just say body, feelings, thoughts, sensations. So in traditional Advaita Vedanta, ego is identification with these things to such an extent that you lose awareness of the self. You're like so fixated. It's like you're so fixated on these things that you're like, these things, thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations are me. And so the goal is to get you more like this in traditional Advaita Vedanta. It's not to eliminate those things. That's insane. Okay? Neo-Advaita, and so that's the definition of ahankara, identification with these things. The simple definition is identification with things that change, but that's maybe a little philosophical. Neo-Advaita says body, thoughts, feelings, more like thoughts and feelings, that's ego, and you need to eliminate them. So that false definition sends you on a crazy, crazy path. So look at that, the power of a false definition. And look how close it is. Eliminate ego. So more or less, they have the goal correct, but through a false definition, they create this insane journey. And the second one is real. So in traditional Advaita Vedanta, it's considered essential to learn discrimination between the real and the unreal. Okay, well, let's go to Neo-Advaita first. Neo-Nonduality says consciousness is real, everything else is unreal. But it adds something. It says that which is unreal does not exist. That's what Neo-Advaita means by real and unreal. That which exists, that which doesn't exist. So Neo-Advaita teaches you, me, my cat, that picture of the angel, it doesn't exist. My thoughts, my feelings doesn't exist. That's the Neo-Non-Duality teaching. On the other hand, the Advaita Vedanta teaching is the definition of real and unreal. And so they don't even use the words real and unreal. They use the words sat and asat. Or I'm just going to stick with that. Sat means eternal and unchanging. Asat means Sat means eternally unchanging. Asat means changing. And it might mean eternally changing. I would need to check on that. I don't want to say that, but it definitely means changing. But asat, or the word that gets translated as unreal, does not mean non-existent. Absolutely not. I learned this directly from Swamini Brahma Prajananda. And actually, I just read it recently from Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna, one of the saints who I had the most admiration for, he said, you must learn to distinguish between the real and the unreal. In fact, I'm going to get it and read it, so you don't have to take my word for it. So, right, this is a little stuffy, right? Like, this is a little academic, like reading books and defining words. But what happens if you get too unstuffy and too untraditional, then you come up with false definitions and false meanings, which literally can lead you insane. Okay, this is from the Gospel of Ramakrishna, page 81. It's in the first chapter. There's different editions. So the reason I'm telling you this is I don't want you to follow me. I'm not worthy of being, I may be worthy of being listened to, but in terms of taking your spiritual guidance, like take it from an actual master. So this is chapter 1, Master and Disciple, page 81. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about the 6th page in because there's different editions. Here's what Ramakrishna has to say. To meditate, you should withdraw yourself or retire in a secluded corner of the forest. And you should always discriminate between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, the eternal substance. All else is unreal. That is impermanent. He doesn't say non-existent. And it's very confusing. It's a very subtle philosophical difference, but it's a very important one. So soul spirit self, like said that Neo-Advaita almost broke them mentally and physically. I almost unalived myself. The most famous Neo-Advaita teacher has had people either take their lives or try to take their lives at this person's ashram. Like, these false definitions have repercussions. And they have very serious repercussions if you take them seriously. So it's like, and that's why you need an actual guide. Because to a certain extent, What do I want to say? I'm going to leave it at that. And I've got some more comments. Dharma in the North. Love your, to be honest, I find traditional Advaita to be honest, I find traditional Advaita to be kind of similar in the sense that it can be framed as negation, ultimately become about do's and don'ts. I mean, it can be. I mean, what do I want to say about that? I think a lot of it comes down to the teacher. Um, and it can if a teacher's not really living it, it can certainly become kind of religious and kind of church-like. Like if the teacher is relying on the books and not their experience. Um, I've had the good fortune that I haven't studied with someone like that. I've seen some videos where I'm like, this feels like maybe not so embodied truth. Luckily, all the traditional Advaita Vedanta teachers I've run into they really embody the teaching, full of joy, into service. Um, so, but so here's the thing though, Advaita Vedanta without a guru, in my view, without studying with a living guru is Neo-Advaita. Like Advaita Vedanta is not a do-it-yourself program. So I don't know if you're talking about specific teachers or if you're just reading books on your own. Like if you're reading books on your own, I would say like, it's not my job to give advice, but what I will say is my view is studying Advaita Vedanta, even traditional Advaita Vedanta texts on your own without a teacher is basically a form of Neo-Advaita. Like we're not meant to go into these waters without guidance. Yeah. And so, okay, that's helpful. Cool. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is you have to feel resonance with your teacher. And here's the other thing, and this is an area that I am not super. There's different schools of Advaita Vedanta. So Advaita Vedanta always stems from Adi Shankara, but then there's different lineages and yes, I'm sure, and some of them can be much more focused on negation. I've heard about it. I haven't experienced it personally. So Dharma in the North, what I would say is just bear that in. So I don't know whether Advaita Vedanta is the right path for you or not. And please do be mindful that there's different lineages. And some of them, I'm sure, are much more negation focused. And for those who don't know what he's talking about, so some part of Advaita Vedanta, there's one very famous practice where to find ultimate reality, you're like, you do it through negation. Like, is that picture the supreme? No. Are these glasses? No. You basically negate everything. Like, that's not the supreme. What's left? It's a meditative technique. It's like a philosophical and meditative technique. And so, some lineages might be more fixated on that, and that might be helpful for some people, and for some people it's not helpful. So yeah. Thank you for that, Dharma in the North. It's a Douglas Harding type of awakening. Yeah, I've heard of. Yeah. I've heard of him, and the thing is. Well, I don't know. I could just go on and on and on, but Dharma in the North, thank you so much for your input and soul spirit self. I'm so touched that you cried when you first found my videos. I do not. I mean, that's very meaningful. That's beyond meaningful to me. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. I've got 10 live viewers. It means the world to me that people watch these videos. And some of it is like, oh, achievement, like I want to do well, and that's part of it. Part of it, however, is when I see people watch my videos either live or afterwards, I just pray. I just have this hope, like, oh my God, maybe there's someone out there who was or is as lost as I was, or who is starting to emerge. And like, if I could help someone emerge, like take one extra step or one step in the right direction, like, honestly, and this is going to make me, part of why I do this is because it was existentially traumatic. There's like trauma, there's like abusive relationship trauma. And thank you, Samadana, Allah. There's like wartime trauma or accident trauma. And then there's like relationship trauma, like an abusive experience and abusive relationship. And then there's like, I only have words for like existential trauma. And this happens with cults of all kinds, is where your sense of reality gets so, and your sense of self and the meaning of life gets so twisted and distorted that like it's just like lost, just like absolute lostness, like beyond lost, just I don't quite have the words, but I've been there. And I made it out. My life is not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I made it out of that fucking hellhole. And I'm starting to learn how to live again. And if I can do it, you can do it. Because I trust me, I am no saint. I could tell you stories of the ways in which I've fallen short in this life. And I was just broken beyond repair. But luckily, there's no such thing as broken beyond repair, because grace exists. Samadana writes, Yoga wrote, more than that, I think we can relate with your experience. And that's part of where the healing comes in, is that sense of like, oh, yeah, because we feel so alone, because most people don't even know what traditional non-duality, much less neo-non-duality, much less, and most people who know what neo-non-duality is, like, think it's like God's gift to the universe, like think it's the greatest thing ever. So yeah, it can feel pretty isolating. So yeah, it's like dissociation. Yes, it is. Beautifully said. Yes, I did feel sort of lost after my teacher training. After my teacher trainings. Now I don't know that. If you could, I didn't, let's see. Yes, I did feel sort of lost after my teacher trainings. Now I don't, now that I'm Yeah. So, different people go down different levels. Like you may have been lost while you were in it, and you may not have, and so that's beautiful. And that's beautiful that you can see that now that you're away from it, like some people get overly involved in addictive behaviors to the point where it's harming them. But when they move away from the people that, other people were encouraging that, and then when they switch their circles, like they just kind of stop doing it. And so, some people, they move with an addiction, they move and it's like, it doesn't matter. They recreate the addiction. So it just, different people get impacted differently at different levels. Samadana. And I'd love to know what samadana means. I don't know that word. I think I know what sama and I think I know what dhamma means, but I've never seen those together. Keep working hard on this. We aren't alone in what we've experienced. It's so true. It's so true. It may feel like, people who have experienced this, we may feel like we're alone. It's my goal to create a support groups for this. And this meeting has me fired up to take a step in that direction. Yeah, we are not alone. Trauma bond with me. It was intense. Yeah. It is. Complete concentration and mental focus. Oneness of mind, one-pointedness of mind. Haha, that's interesting. Ramana Maharshi and Shankara both teach that that's a prerequisite to practicing self-inquiry. So according to Adi Shankara and Ramana Maharshi, you shouldn't be practicing self-inquiry until you have, how do you pronounce it? Samadhana, one-pointedness of mind. Yeah. Oh, Samadhana. Yes, you've been here before. Okay, it comes back. Yeah. Brain injuries. Yeah. I love that you do. I love that you're doing that. I mean, talk about Dharma, like talk about something Dharma and righteous, like, doing something to help people who've been through intense things. Good on you. I want to keep going. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. I'll just apologize now. You sent me a chat. You sent me an email a while ago, and I just, I'm feeling a little more open to it. It's not you, it's me. I'm super sensitive and, no, it's not that I'm busy. It's just, I'm super sensitive and like still healing and keeping mostly to myself. Yes, it's coming back to me now. I feel a little vulnerable with that, but thank you for your acceptance. And the moment is right. The moment it is right. All right, beautiful beings. Thank you so much. It's really, I love giving these talks, and I love when people show up who have experience, and have their own experiences to share. And I want to create a forum for that, for more of that. All right, beautiful beings. Thank you so very much. I'm just going to close with a prayer. Infinite limitlessness. All the guides and helpers. Calling all angels, please, for everyone who joined this live today, for everyone who will watch it afterwards. Please, just the highest blessing, the highest help, the next step forward on their path. Please. For all those impacted by Neo-Advaita, please, just highest blessing, the highest grace, support, healing. Please, not just for me, but for anyone doing any type of education or recovery and healing work around Neo-Advaita, please, blessings for them and their work. Thank you. Tippy Tao. I love that name. Tippy Tao. That's really funny. Instead of tippy toe. All right, beautiful beings. Thank you so much. Big love.